Richo, I'm going to show you my easy French onion soup, which is an absolute hit in our house. And I think you're going to love it. And unlike your dish, I'm going to really make onion the absolute centrepiece, masterpiece of this dish.
I like that.
Okay, good.
French onion soup is a classic soup, and I'm even noticing the dishes that you're going to serve it up in.
Yes, I know. Very classic, very fancy. So Preeya. Now, we're going to chop onions together. You're going to chop most of them, kindly.
There's some
Thank
sort
you.
of...
This is a bonding experience.
There's some sort of inequality here. This is where you cut 1 and I cut 6. Is that what you
But
want me
we
to
all know he's better at this, so this is where I utilise your skills. And also, see, already...
So what are you looking for with the onion? Nice
I just want thin slices.
Oh, OK.
You tell us how you... So, Richo, when I'm at home, I'm literally just chopping like this, trying not to chop my fingers off, and this for me is fine, slicing. How would you chop an onion? I know it's loud, so we'll probably run some music over this, but you show us what you do.
I take the core out of it because I want it to fall apart, and then I lay it flat like that, and I cut it this way. That way I get nice, long, thin strips without having any of the other funny business. And you just go all the way around like this till you get to the top of it. You've got to keep an eye on it, make sure you don't cut yourself, but nice and fine like this. And when you get to the last little bit, you just hold it with your fingernails, and every single one of those comes out exactly the same. You could take a ruler to that, and they'll all be...
You probably could.
Bang on.
Versus this. But can I just tell you, once it's been in the soup and it's all caramelised, it doesn't actually matter, I think.
Oh, OK.
I think.
It's your soup, so if you don't want it to matter, that's up to you. But for me, I'm just an old-fashioned chef that just likes to cut his onions the old-fashioned way, nice and fine. Because in my career, I've had big chefs with big hats over the top of me. Mr. Richardson, that's not fine enough. So that's how you get to it.
You're not getting teary either as we do this, which is unusual, and that's another reason I gave you the onions, because I didn't want my mascara to run.
Well, they don't affect me anymore. After years of doing it, I've got an actual layer that's been grown over the top of my eyes so that the onions don't affect me anymore.
That concerns me slightly as a doctor, but anyway. So, Richo, this is how easy this is. So I've got a pan that was already heated. I've put a good glug of extra virgin olive oil in there, and then I just throw the onions in. Now, the initial part of this recipe, Richo, is just about softening them and browning them, and that is it. And you just want to make sure that they don't burn, because then you completely ruin your soup.
Now, at this stage here, do you add salt and pepper to help with the softening process?
I do later. Would you do it now? Pro tip,
I would.
let's mix it up.
For me, I find that when you add a little bit of salt, it sort of breaks down the cell structure of the onions really quickly, and they start to fall apart, and you get a lot of the water off it. So with a stove like this is great because you've got that extra bit of heat to boil off the water if it does become wet and the liquid comes out of it, and then it starts frying again, because you don't caramelise an onion without it frying, do you?
No, you don't. That's true. You need the heat. Well, there you go. Look at how I can adapt on the go. I've taken on Richo's pro tip, and now that's going to come home with me. I'll add the salt earlier. So I'll stand here for 20 minutes whilst this softens, and you can go grab a cuppa.
Well, I'll do that, and then I'll make sure you're stirring them properly. How's that?
Richo, look at these. So that's about 20 minutes of just gently... Patient, taste it.
I'm going to have a little taste, because it is all about the onions, and to me, when you caramelise them like this, the sweetness is the thing about the onion that I love, and it adds so much to the dish. I could see you at home making this often, stirring and stirring and stirring, the kids running around and running around.
I have to be honest, it's chaotic. Okay. It's not as peaceful as it was with you with a cup of tea next to me, but anyway, I've just added some garlic to the pan.
Word of advice, put some noise-cancelling headphones on while you're making this, and you won't even know the kids are around.
I love it. I should do that. Tips from Richo. Another pro tip there. There you go, a parenting pro tip.
Yep.
So the garlic's gone in, then some white wine has gone into the pan, and depending on what pan you're using, you might need to do a bit of the scraping.
We call it deglazing the pan with the wine or a little bit of stock, lifting off all those brown crusty bits.
Yes.
Because that's the flavour.
So here we go. Now, we're going to make some croutons in a moment, but I'm going to get this to the point where it's going to simmer for another 30 minutes first. So what I do, this is my little secret ingredient. This is Worcestershire sauce. Okay. Do you put that in your French onion soup?
I use it in abundance. There's a cocktail I make that has plenty of
have
this
a-
in it. So I've got different
A
types.
cocktail?
Got plenty of Worcestershire sauce hanging around all the time.
Nice. Can you chuck the stock in here, please?
I can do that.
So I'm using some good quality chicken stock, which makes a big difference, I think. You want to choose something that's delicious at its baseline because it is your whole dish, basically. So you're going to chop that baguette into rounds or diagonal slices, whatever you call them, and we're just going to brown them slightly on one side with olive oil, and then we're going to put Gruyere on the other side, and they're going to go in the oven.
I like that.
I'm going to allow this pan to simmer for about 30 minutes, get all that flavour out. Meanwhile, you've kindly chopped some bread for me, and I'm just going to give it a gentle spray of olive oil. Some for Richo, some for the bread.
I'm used to
Perfect.
getting a spray from you.
Good one. So this is going in the oven for 5 minutes. Let's get that nice and brown. We'll flip them over, and this is all going to come together. Richo, look at this. Can you smell that?
Fantastic.
The Worcestershire, or however you want to say it, the onion, it's all come together. You've done some beautiful croutons with the Gruyere. It's time to put this into little bowls and to enjoy it. So, what I do, Richo, thank you very much. Here we go. Let's pop that in there.
Oh, plenty of onions, chunky onions.
I know.
And the
Yes.
more onions, the better, I think.
Absolutely.
And I'm loving it. Just the smell alone, the sweetness, the stock, all the good things here. I'll tell you one thing that I've done. You added the Worcestershire sauce to it to get the colour. I've used Vegemite before. It gives you that salty flavour as well.
I was going to say saltiness.
Yeah.
Have a taste. Look at that. Imagine sitting in a restaurant and having that delivered to you, Richo.
A little French restaurant somewhere in maybe London or New York.
Sitting
or
on a terrace.
maybe in Paris.
Together.
Exactly.
Glass of wine.
I love the onions in there, nice and sweet. And it's going to fill you up, especially with that crouton on the top. Love the Gruyere cheese.
It's all you need, isn't it? Full of onion, great for kids, easy peasy to make.
Maybe a glass of wine.